I made a journal spread for every book I read this year. 35 books, 11,361 pages read, and all my thoughts condensed into this little journal. It was a slow reading year, but I'm still very excited about reading and have so many bookish plans. And before I set up my new reading journal for 2025, let's do a flip through of all the spreads from this year. I went for a light academia and gothic vibe for the overall theme of my setup at the start of the year. It has lots of ornaments and pillars and arches, and I stuck to this beige and brown colors for the first few pages of the setup. An important spread was my physical TBR. From the start of this YouTube channel, I've wanted to tackle my physical TBR, and this year I made this spread for the first time, which definitely helped a lot to visualize just how many books I have on my shelf unread. And I'm proud to report that I read 21 books that were originally on my shelf at the start of this year. So more than half the books I read this year were from my physical TBR, and I only bought a few books which I really wanted and then enjoyed, which is great because I'm about to move all my books across the continent once again. We have a few more pages set up here, such as my recommendations page and monthly TBRs, and my Read Around the World reading goal spread. I didn't use these so much, so I need to make some changes to this in my new journal. So after the setup, we go into the individual book spreads. The first one ended up being one of my favorites already, both in terms of the book and the spread as well. I really enjoyed reading Madonna in a Fur Coat by Sabahat Ali, such a wonderful story about love set in Turkey. And I really liked the floral pattern and color scheme of this spread as well. The start of my reading year continued to be pretty good, aside from a few mediocre reads. I had my annual reread of Atomic Habits, really enjoyed starting to read some books in Dutch again, which spread somehow I kind of skipped while filming this, and then came two new favorites in a row. I finally started reading the Farseer trilogy. I put it off for so long because I was intimidated because they are quite long books and I still feel like a fantasy newbie. But I really enjoyed it and read the second book not too long ago, and I'll read the next and final one soon. Then came possibly the most memorable book I read this year, which is This Is Happiness by Niall Williams. I've gushed over this book in that month's wrap-up because the writing is just so amazing and the setting is almost enchanting, so go check out that video if you're interested. Then came a few disappointments. You can tell that a book left me uninspired if I start drawing large-shaped patterns. None of these books were bad, they just weren't for me. While I try more and more to just read what I want to read, it can be hard not to be influenced by the books you see all over BookTube and BookTalk. Sometimes it's great because I have discovered so many amazing books I otherwise never would have, but it's also hyped a lot of books that have left me a little disappointed. Then I read Franny and Zoe, which I enjoyed. Unfortunately, the only classic I read this year, so that's definitely going to be part of the reading goals for 2025, a few more classics. But I did try more genres. I read Never Let Me Go, not quite sci-fi, but definitely dystopian, which is a genre I used to really enjoy. I really enjoyed reading poetry, courtesy of Mary Oliver. I liked Circe a lot more than I thought I would, making me consider reading more Greek mythology, which is surprising for me. I didn't love The Song of Achilles as much as I thought I would. It was nice, but didn't leave me wanting to read more Greek mythology, whereas Circe did. So if you have any recommendations, please let me know, because I don't really know what to read next. And with my interest in dystopia rekindled, I really got hooked on Scythe, which is a series I definitely want to continue. There's lots of books I've wanted to read this year but didn't get around to, either due to time or the availability of the book or other distractions, but Scythe is definitely a series I want to complete next year. I've been having a lot of fun with my journal this year, even though it has sometimes taken me a lot of time to come up with spread ideas. I really wanted to try different formats and tools, and I love how some of these came out. Like my old-timey newspaper font and layout for a burning, or trying out some watercolor paintings for As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow. Of course, still lots of small doodles, but also scrapbooking and drawing in colored pencil. I've become much more comfortable to just create the page as I want, whether with lots of text or no text at all, or just a quote. I think that's what's great about journaling about books. I just try to convey in my journal and to all of you how this book made me feel, what it inspired me to create, and how I want to remember it. By the time my mid-year stats came around, we already had some obvious winners. I already mentioned This Is Happiness and Madonna in a Fur Coat, but I was also really moved by As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow, which is worth every piece of its hype. And a big surprise for me was Now Go on Grief in Studio Ghibli, a book I perhaps didn't expect too much of, but it turned out to really make me think about life and relationships with people and with the earth, and just gave me so much more than I thought it would. A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki was a highlight of the second part of my reading year. Again, a book that just had a lot more in it than I thought. Wonderful storytelling, a little bit bizarre but in an intriguing way, and with a beautiful message. Winter in Seokjo, equally strange but less my cup of tea. My reading pace really slowed down after that, as I seemed to lose my work-life balance for a minute, but it's been restored. But I did manage to read some books that were really high on my TBR list, either because I was really excited about them or because I wasn't at all, and just wanted to see if I wanted to keep them or give them away. I also read some cute children's books, which are perfect when you're overworked. Both The Wild Robot and The Valley of Secrets were really cute and wholesome. They definitely have a focus on characters and relationship among the characters rather than the plot, but I just love the concept and the setting for both of these books a lot. I ended the year with the need for some good romance recommendations because good material didn't live up to my potentially too high expectations. So please let me know what your ultimate romance novel is. I'm aware that I'm really picky, but at the same time really want to read a good romance sometimes. The Family Fang definitely came in second for the most memorable book of the year for very different reasons than This Is Happiness. The spread kind of reflects how I experienced it. Definitely intrigued to read more of Kevin Wilson's books. I ended up finishing some of the non-fiction books I was reading and really loved the memoir An Education of an Idealist. Highly recommended to anyone. So these are the books I read this year and their reading journal spreads. Please let me know about the highlights of your reading year, the most memorable or best written or most enjoyable books you read, recommendations, books to avoid. I always love hearing from you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you did. Lots of videos to come, so hopefully see you soon.